Hello and welcome to another episode of Untold Chapters with Austin Macauley Publishers. In this episode, I have the pleasure of talking to Michael Resenblum, the author of the heartwarming children's series Happily Ever After. The Happily Ever After series contains two books, The Caterpillar and the Butterfly and A Garden of Flowers. These books help children learn more about important topics such as diversity, uniqueness, and faith. Hello and welcome to another episode of Untold Chapters. We are here today with Michael Resenblum, who is the author of The Caterpillar and the Butterfly and A Garden of Flowers. Thank you for joining me today, Michael. Would you like to introduce yourself to our listeners?
I'm Michael Rosenblum. Don't know what to say except for the fact that I'm thrilled to have the opportunity to talk with you today, Georgia.
Thank you so much for joining us. If we get straight into the questions then. So you have two amazing children's books that are so colourful and so beautiful. But they both cover quite important topics and quite sensitive topics. Is it hard to approach topics like that when you're writing them for kids? Is there a specific way you approach those storylines?
Yes, actually, what I find the best way in order to deliver my messages is try to use analogies that people will be able to follow. Like, for instance, well, I guess I'm getting ahead of myself, but I guess the word would be using analogies.
Amazing. Yeah, because in your first book, you have a lovely message that is fear is faith turned inside out. It's a really powerful kind of concept. How did you kind of come up with that concept for the first book?
Well, for instance, with regards to fear as faith turned inside out, if you think about it, in most people's mind, fear is usually darkness,
Mm,
and faith is usually bright light.
right.
And so when you think about the fact that um, they're just really the opposite of each other. So if the opposite of dark is light and the opposite of fear is faith, it just seems to make sense.
Mm. No, I really like that. I love the sense of kind of that in the way that you kind of captured it in your first book. It was a really powerful message, I think. And it was so true and it's just not something I had thought about like that. So it was a really interesting kind of concept to me. Well,
I try to keep the concepts, I try to follow a philosophy called KISS,
hmm
KISS, keep it simple, stupid.
Oh,
And
nice.
it's not the idea that anybody is stupid. Nobody is stupid. My
Mm,
God, we all have great minds that work in so many different ways. So the idea of keeping it simple is more of the idea that let's just look at the basics that most of us can comprehend with simplicity,
mm.
because it's really opinions that make things more complex.
Yeah, I like that approach to writing a book because, like you said, it's one of those things where emotions are complex, but you can kind of simple it down and make it clear. Um, Amazing. Well, how do you hope that this will help children understand that fear is a normal emotion and it's something that can be kind of transformed into something positive?
Well, it's really simple. I believe that without question, fear is the most normal feeling that any of us have as we journey through life. But I also realize that when we're fearful of something, if at any point during our fearful moments or periods, we just inject a little bit of hope, just a tiny little bit of hope, we can find that slowly we might grow into a more positive, faithful mindset. And it's almost like taking, think of color. If you have black and you add white to the paint, slowly it becomes gray, which
Mm,
means that you don't live then in a total mindset of darkness. You're moving closer to brightness. And as you put more hope or white paint into the dark paint, you begin to get closer to that white, bright feeling of faith and hope. So I think it's just teaching children and probably adults to
Mm,
think that way. We don't need to get anywhere driven in a religious sense, but we just have to have that hopefulness that things can work out. And it's no different than if you think about nature at the
mhm,
end of winter, where we had icicles and snow, we always pave way to the spring with flowers and the grasses growing. And we know that after every bad rainstorm, the sun eventually comes out. Actually, it's playing hide and seek while it rains because it sits above the clouds that are dark.
mm,
So I think it's just relating to nature or to the world around us and realizing that nothing stays in darkness.
mm. No, I really like
That
that.
was long-winded.
No, I love those analogies. I think that was amazing. It's a visual way that you've explained that. I think also kind of through your books, you do have that sense of things can get better and you just need that one thing to kind of remind you that you can do things and you can get better. But those both those analogies were so beautiful. They were really powerful. If we go on to your next book, what inspired you to write A Garden of Flowers and tackle another important conversation for children to educate them on diversity and uniqueness?
Well, I was kind of thinking about the world around us and the divisive behavior that is going on with regards to our differences and trying to really come up with a theme and a book that really can kind of help people understand what a beautiful gift we all are and how special we are, no matter what we look like, no matter what our differences might be, that we're genuinely perfect in our own way and that we're here for a reason to relate to others. And so when I looked at my book, The Caterpillar and the Butterfly, um, Fear, the little caterpillar, lived in a garden. And in that garden, you can imagine there are flowers. And there are all types of flowers, right? There's daisies, there's roses, there's foxtrots, there's peonies, there's azaleas, all types of beautiful flowers, but they're all different. And then it dawned on me that, oh, we need butterfly faith to come back and help all the flowers in the garden understand that while they might have so many differences, they actually have basic similarities,
Mm.
which are all about love. And so that's how I derived to be able to write A Garden of Flowers.
That's really nice. Yeah, I like that. I think it is such an important message at the moment, especially like you said, in these days when you can have so much diversity and it is such a big conversation. I think it is important to teach young kids that there is beauty in differences and to embrace everyone's differences because it's what makes the world interesting. And I think you did a really lovely job on that in The Garden of Flowers. Obviously, you have Faith as the core character who kind of combined your two books. What made you have Faith going into the second? Did you want it kind of to be consistent because there is that kind of faith around everyone being amazing?
Well, good question. But if you think about it, um, it was just a natural evolution for faith to continue. And the reason why is because fear, being the caterpillar, and faith being the butterfly, is all about the fact that if we turn our fear inside out, it's actually faith. And a caterpillar, after sleeping in its cocoon, becomes a butterfly.
Mm,
So, in essence, fear changes to faith as we know it. And in nature, a caterpillar changes into a butterfly.
mm,
And when you think about a butterfly, it it resembles that of an angel. When you look at an angel, you always see the beautiful wings of a butterfly.
mm,
And so as I thought about butterflies, I've always felt since I was a child that butterflies are like little angels. And so I just thought, this is terrific. The angel can reappear in my books in order to be able to help teach valuable lessons to people, children, adults, anybody who wants to learn.
mm. No, I love that. Yeah, I never made that connection before with angels, butterflies, but now that you said it, I can see that so clearly, and that's such a lovely idea to bring both stories together and have that guiding force through the two stories. It's really, really powerful. In the Garden of Flowers, you have a line that is, if all our colors were the same, we wouldn't have rainbows. I think that's such a beautiful message, and the way that you symbolize that in the book is also so stunning. What was kind of your inspiration behind that? I mean, obviously, I understand that everyone is different, and the differences are the things that are the colorful things about us. But what made you specifically choose a rainbow to symbolize that?
Well, I think when you take a group of people with differences and you show them a rainbow, the number one reaction that they will have is a smile on their face.
Mm.
Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely.
And the smile lights up, much like the rainbow. And then we all think of rainbows as being full of magic. Well, I think people are also full of magic in the sense that I think all of us are created in such a beautiful way that we are a gift.
Mm,
And our gift is to help others understand about us. So, in essence, all of us are a gift, and all of us teach one another about each other. And so that's how the whole rainbow concept came to be, because the rainbow is made up of all different colors on the spectrum. And our planet has almost 7 billion people that are different.
mm,
You know, whether or not we're born missing a limb or our color of our skin is different, or we choose to believe in a different religion, or our body shape is skinny or plump, or whether we come from biological parents or we're chosen and loved by adopted parents, or no matter what our difference is, we're all special and nobody lacks anything. And I think that's what I'm trying to help the world to comprehend is that whatever we think we're missing, we have some other gift. Like, for instance, um, what comes to mind immediately is the singer Barbara Streisand, who has the most magnificent voice. And what a range that she can hit with her voice.
mm,
But yet, she's always discussed that she had, not the most beautiful nose, but she decided never to have any cosmetic surgery because it might have changed her voice.
mm,
So, I don't think any of us get 100% exactly what we like, but we we don't get that because we're made a certain way in order to be able to have a gift and teach other people that it's okay.
I love that.
So I think that's kind of deep, but I believe and hope that you and the audience understand where I'm going with that kind of
Mm.
positive messaging, because it's
Yeah.
truly what I think.
Yeah, no, I think that messaging is so important. I think, especially, I mean, obviously your book's written for young kids, but obviously parents will be reading it, and I think it will also make them rethink some certain things about the way that they view the world. Because, like you said, we don't always get exactly what we want, but we all do have a gift, and those differences and those gifts are what makes us special and what makes the world interesting as well. I really love the messages that you do portray in your books. Your books obviously have very colourful drawings and everything is very bright, and you use different colours to convey kind of different emotions as well through your characters. Were the illustrations kind of, did they come to you quite quickly? Were you like, okay, we're going to use this colour for this and we're going to make these characters look like this? Or was there a bit of trial and error when it came to how you wanted your characters to look?
No, actually, it was really easy. I worked with, on each book, I had two different illustrators, and both were brilliant. Although they say I was very easy to work with. And I suppose the reason being is because when I write, I actually see pictures in my mind of the words that I'm putting down on paper. And
Mm,
so I can actually see my characters and I know what they look like. And, and I know what their reactions on the faces should be, the colors. I see all of these different nuances and features, and I am able to articulate that to the illustrator in order to be able to come up with the look in the illustrations. And something that you said previously is very interesting. Yes, parents, in most cases for young children, choose the books. And so they read the messages, but children are captivated by the illustrations and the pictures and the characters. And so my books create a journey for both child and parent to be able to dialogue.
mm,
And in the Garden of Flowers, it's an opportunity for a parent to read to the child, but to also maybe footnote and interject about their family and their differences and the importance, or to point out about the beauty in the friendships that their children have with other children and how they're different.
mm,
Because I really believe that hate is something that's taught. It's not natural. You know, we often giggle at the fact that children are so unfiltered and honest. When we're little, we kind of what's on our lungs springs off our tongue, and we say things without realizing that, oh my gosh, maybe we shouldn't have said that. But it's a pureness.
mm,
And I think that there we're all born loving immediately, but as we begin to grow, um, we begin to pick up habits, maybe, or opinions that maybe need rethinking because hatred is not something that's natural. It's more of a learned behavior.
mm.
And so love is more of a natural behavior. And so that's, what my thought process is, with this whole subject matter.
No, I think you're completely correct. I think, we do have the kind of, we always go, oh, kids are so naive and da 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 da. But I think it's like there's so much beauty in their naiveness, I think sometimes, because they don't know about the kind of danger, they don't know about the hatred that can be in the world. So I know my nephews teach me stuff sometimes and I'm like, oh my God, and I teach my parents. And I think it is one of those things where you can learn a lot from children sometimes, but then you still need to teach them the core good
But
qualities of
and
humanity.
values.
Yeah,
Yes.
100%.
Yes.
Do you have any future plans for the character Faith to help children tackle any other important topics?
Oh, absolutely. Right now, I'm working on book three in the series where Faith is returning to the garden and she's going to be helping two specific characters uh, how to deal with their anxiety
Mm.
because these two critters that live in the garden constantly are living with great anxiety in their life.
Mm.
And Faith is now going to help them find more peace rather than to move about being so anxious in their life. And
I
so that's exciting.
I can't wait for that. Honestly, that sounds amazing. I think anxiety is such a big thing now. I love that that's the next topic that you're going to tackle through your books. I can't wait.
Yes, exciting. Very exciting.
Very exciting. My last question for you is, if you could choose three words to describe the Happily Ever After series, what would they be and why would you choose them?
I think the three words I would use are engaging, inspiring, and uplifting. And it's based on the idea that the books I write and the messages that I'm trying to teach are all about being just be,
Mm.
being positive. When we're positive, we're so happy. And when we're happy, we are able to do things beyond our imagination because the adrenaline rush that flows through our bodies excites us and opens our minds in ways that we never imagined, that it drives us to achieve greatness. And it follows my concept that we're all a diamond in the rough. If you think about a beautiful diamond that you see in a jewelry store, you know it starts with a huge, it's sort of embedded in a chunk of rock that's
Mm.
not so beautiful. And that diamond goes through um, a very rough cut and a very hard polish to shine to some sort of brilliance. And it's the same as in people. We journey through life and we have our own trials and tribulations, but those trials and tribulations are only sort of that cut and that polish in order to get us to become more brilliant. And when we have great messaging that excites us, we find that, as I said previously, we have an energy and adrenaline boost that helps us to achieve our own greatness, which then spills out to everyone else, um, and just motivates them and creates this beautiful train of success. That was long-winded, but I appreciate everyone listening.
No, I love that. I love how in depth and how passionate you are about this. I think it's so lovely to hear someone be so passionate about their books. So thank you so much for joining me today. Is there anything else that we've not covered that you'd like to kind of share with our listeners at all?
No, and I appreciate you choosing me and having me on today. And thank you so much.
Oh no, thank you for coming on. Thank you for listening to the latest episode of Untold Chapters. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. If you are listening on Spotify, please follow and give us a 5-star review. There will be a link in our description to Michael Rosenblum's Happily Ever After book series.